Tony. This is Tony.
Lovely to meet you, Tony.
How you doing, pal?
Fine, thank you. My name's Hamza.
How you doing, mate?
Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Just giving so the flag is there just to prompt a reminder about there's a genocide taking place, just to raise awareness about it.
I know.
Because the media is not reporting it to the extent that it should be, because it has a biased agenda. So therefore, it's not reporting it to the level it should have. And it's about 70,000 dead kids by this moment. So it's about.
Oh yeah. I watch Al Jazeera, so you actually get some real news.
So again, Al Jazeera will still have weaknesses, but again, it'll be closer.
Yeah. Like look at a wide range of news broadcasters.
Again, you can see the inconsistency sometimes, just blatantly clear from BBC and etc. So that's a reminder there. And then this is what we're giving in just information about Islam, because also I think there's a lot of misconceptions about Islam too, and there have been, especially post 9/11. There's been a lot of misconceptions that people have carried just because they've never had the opportunity to learn, let's say, about Islam, or they're too busy in their lives or whatever. They've not had the opportunity to learn about it, and therefore they have this misconception and they don't understand it. And what I truly do believe is that when you start going to countries like Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, you start getting a glimpse of what Islam, an Islamic society could be like, right? Again, they all have their faults. They all have their problems, right? I'm not saying they're perfect societies. Sorry, right? But they implement some of the rules and teachings of the Quran. Therefore, there's a lady earlier on, her son works in Qatar. She said that when I do go there, I find a sense of peace there. And for example, you must have heard this, you can leave your car in Dubai or Qatar, open, and you'll know it won't get stolen. Whereas if you're in Manchester, you leave a bag. You leave your bike overnight.
There's bad apples in all cultures.
100%.
In all cultures, all religions. It is what it is, unfortunately.
What I want to say is, not all religions. What it is because, for example, this thing that's happening now is paying out to be like a religious problem. Whereas if you look at the roots of the problem, it's a political matter. So it's not Muslims versus Jews, right? It's Zionists. So these people called Zionists, they have an ideology to have a greater Israel, right? You know how you have Israel now on the map? They want a bigger target. It's their ideology is basically to obtain as much as possible, right? So it's not about, and whereas, the Jewish belief is that, they should live in diaspora. This is not me. This is what the Jews believe. I've spoke to a rabbi called Rabbi Dawah Weiss. Their belief is to live in diaspora, right? So the fact that they came over, the British, unfortunately, they funded it, etc., the slow progression takeover, right? But it can be remedied, and that is that give the Palestinians their rights back. It's as simple as that. But that's another topic. But what I want to explain about,
everybody has the right to live in peace. So, you know what I mean?
Simple as that, right? It's a human law, right? According to the international law of non-combatants can't be harmed, right? So again, in Gaza, it's mainly women and children that get targeted because it's a very densely populated place. So if you're aiming at a building, there will be women and children in there. More women and children than men, because in Arab culture, women are more conservative. They take care of the children and they they cook, they clean. They have more conservative roles. They work, they do normal things as well, right? But that's just a common tradition. So therefore, if they live there, they will. But when it comes to Islam, I really do believe that a lot of people think that it's just like another religion, and they don't understand the beauty behind it or what it can offer to a society. For example, one of the rules in Islam is not to free mix. So men and women. The Quran says that men have rights over women, similar to women have rights over men. So that's clear, right? We're both equal in value, but we have different roles according to Islamic standard. But what Islam says that don't free mix, and what that means is basically in the mosque, for example, men will pray at the front, women will pray at the back, and that's not out of a hierarchy kind of thing. That's so the men don't get distracted by the women, because you're going to, let's say, connect with the Creator, right? Exactly. Any masculine man will tell you that they will get distracted, by a woman in front, etc., etc. Whereas that won't be the case with a woman when they're behind the men. Similarly, when you go gatherings, family meetings, and stuff like that, Islam says that men should be on one side, and there should be a border and women on another. And what that does, it just removes distraction. And Islam, what it does is it removes crimes from occurring by attacking it at the root. So For example, affairs happen. You have all kinds of problems within families, right? Or this person did this person did that, this person abused her, or he said this to her, and it kicked off or whatever, right? And you have a problem with the family now. Well, Islam says that it separates it, and it says it gives these rules and regulations not to backbite, not to slander, and to not to free mix. So what ends up happening is that yes, you have a different kind of environment, right? But you prevent issues from brewing. Let's say if it never happens, but if it does happen, the system failed. So Islam gives a perfect system to implement to prevent crimes from happening. So Islam prevents crimes rather than you say getting into a crime and then trying to find a cure. Similarly with theft, with murder, Islam has harsh punishments in place, similar to like America and other countries, to prevent them kind of crimes from happening over and over again, right? For example, and when it comes to divorce as well, right? Islam has a system in place that makes sure that the man and the woman are equally treated, because some more divorces happen out of emotion, and you're not thinking properly, it's anger, whatever. So Islam says that let's say a man and a woman have a problem, they say I divorce you, you go away for a month, you don't see each other, and you ideally try and make up. If you don't make up, you come together, you say I divorce you again, you go away for another month. The third time round, if you say I divorce you, that means you're not good for one another and you move on, right? But there's that, like that period for you to make up, right? So again, it has a system for everything. Justice, inheritance, how do you split the inheritance when someone passes away? So what ends up happening is that if you do implement rules of, let's say, the Quran, you have more peace within the society. You start understanding, you start reaching, the best version of society. So that's what Islam has to offer to society. But the basic belief of Islam is dependent upon there being one God, and believing in the fact that there was past prophets and messengers that came to humanity to just guide people on morality. What's right, what's wrong, right? So that's a good question to ask, isn't it? What is right, what's wrong? And people have their own opinions.
Popular opinion, isn't it, right and wrong? It's like who's in charge to make the decision if it's right or it's wrong.
Thank you. But who has that?
I'll come back to see you when the police go.
Basically, for example, let's say the UK government says that abortion is right or wrong. Who are they to legislate that if that is right or wrong? Is it the Prime Minister? Is it a board or a committee, or is it like euthanasia? Right? Who brought this idea of euthanasia? Is it right or wrong? Right? So whatever side you choose, right? The person will always ask, okay, who are you to say that's right or wrong? Right? Now what? Now that will always be, let's say, a controversial topic. But Islam again addresses that. When you, let's say, believe in the fact of one God, if it makes sense, it's rational, it's logical. Then let's say you believe that the Quran is the word of God, it just removes that.
See, I'm an atheist. I don't really believe in any deities whatsoever.
No problem.
But, I mean, I do.
Can I ask what's your reasoning behind it? Sorry for interrupting as well.
I don't know. I've just sort of gone through life thinking, yeah, there is right and wrong, but I don't think you need. You just need to be a good person. You don't need to. But this is my view, and obviously I respect somebody else's views. If you want to be Muslim or Christian, Sikh,
Islam, don't take me wrongly as well. Islam is a very tolerant society. The reason why there was peace in Palestine before 1940s, the Ottoman Empire, Islamic Empire, it had its faults, but what it did get right was the rules and regulations when it comes to different societies. So at the time of the Prophet Muhammad, the Jews were allowed to implement their own rules and regulations according to their own scripture.
I mean,
so were the Christians.
The British are a lot to blame, to be honest, aren't they? I mean,
not just the British, the French, the Spanish, all kind of powers.
Britain and France sort of carved up the region after World War I, didn't they? And they made promises to different cultures, different ideologies, and they kind of lied. So I mean, this
as any power, it's just not the British. The Romans, the Persians, they all had this similar thing.
And it's going to be nothing ever changes. 1,000 years time, the world map will look exactly different again, and it'll be somebody else at the top of the line.
That's what he should. That's what. Yeah. Sorry for interrupting. Sorry.
It's human nature. That's why I'm more on the atheist side.
I'll explain. If you,
I think human beings are not a million times different lands, to be quite honest with you. I think they're very.
I'll say again.
They're not a million times different lands.
Okay.
I think it's about survival of the fittest, and like I said, nothing lasts forever. 1,000 years, you might not even recognise any countries on this planet anyway. They might be all called different things with different ideologies. It's been happening for thousands of years. You know what I mean?
I just want to explain my point. I think it's a powerful point. When it comes to there's multiple things that you just said, but I want to just one by one, right? When it comes to there being, let's say, a God or not, Islam, unlike Christianity, you just blind faith, you just believe it, right? When it comes to Islam, we are taught within the Quran that humanity should think and come to the conclusion if there is a God or not, meaning that you should come and approach from an intellectual perspective. It shouldn't be a blind, rational one. You should come, the idea is that in the Quran it says, أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ, why won't they think? Basically, it's challenging humanity to think. And when, for example, the Quran poses a very simple question: can something come from nothing? So this idea that a universe could have just came from absolute nothing or by chance, it's not sufficient. That's not a logical answer. It's just an answer for a lack of knowledge on that particular topic, right? But logically speaking, you can't get something from nothing. Logically speaking, you can use mathematics to prove that. You can use a simple example. If I give you a glass of nothing, put nothing into this glass of nothing, chop nothing into the glass of nothing, you have a glass of nothing, right? So from nothing comes nothing. And throughout the history of philosophy, very few have dared to challenge that ethic, right? So there had to be something that created the universe. If you want to call it the Big Bang, if you want to call it energy, whatever it is, it had to be powerful, because the universe is a powerful existence, and it has to have a level of independence, because anything that's dependent relies on other things to exist. So there had to be some initiating point that was independent. And our understanding of that, like a higher power, is that Allah is one. He's not man and woman. He's above his creation. He's independent, and he's all-knowing, all-seeing, all-hearing. All these attributes that we can infer from, let's say, the Quran, but also when you examine the universe. Like, let's say you examine a table. You can understand the attributes of, let's say, design of the table by examining the table. Does that make sense? Like, for example, if it has 4 legs, you know that the person who designed the table has basic understanding of balance, has some level of knowledge to put the pogo stick in the right place, etc., etc. He knows what he's doing, etc. So if it's a rubbish table, you know the person who made it is not good at his job. Similarly with the universe, there is a level of fine-tuning, and there is a level of, let's say, stability, regularity, and uniformity. And if that is there, then something had to put that in place. So that's the Quranic argument, right? Of why there has to be something that created the universe, right? And if energy is not energy or a Big Bang is not a sufficient answer.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things we don't understand, isn't there?
Because energy is not conscious. It's just physical, like matter, right? It's just like something that can be empirically measured. But when you're talking about the beginning of the universe, because it was never witnessed, never recorded, it's something metaphysical. Therefore, logic has to be implemented. You know how you have visual proof, right? Like, for example, you can measure something, empiricism, when you measure something under a microscope, etc., etc. That's called empirical evidence, right? So that's usually used in research of different diseases. Use empirical evidence to basically prove your thesis, right? When it comes to logical conclusions, for example, 2 plus 2, the number 2 in mathematics, you can't smell the number 2, you can't see the number 2, you can't even taste the number 2, but it is
Mathematics and everything.
but no, I'm just giving an example. But it is like a reality, right? It is something that exists, but we're using our logical what do you call it, logical proof, ontological proof, to prove that mathematics exists. For example, love, hatred, all these different kind of abstract concepts, there's no way to empirically prove it. Does that make sense, right? Therefore, you use logic to use logical arguments to prove their existence, right? So there's multiple kinds of proof, and the Quran says, logically speaking, there has to be something that created the universe. It kind of just popped out of nowhere. So that's very. So when you said, how come there's loads of evil on the planet and stuff like that, And the reason, say again,
Great.
greed,
Absolutely.
100%, and that's within every society,
Yeah.
right? I'm not saying that there weren't religious people throughout society that were greedy and that used religion to basically use religion as a catalyst for their own political benefit. There's always been corrupt people like that. But the religion itself of Islam, I truly do recommend people to understand the core principles of what it's teaching. To me, I think when you want to let's say examine religions, right? See what's right, what's wrong. Either they're all baloney, they all don't make sense, or one of them is right, because not every religion is not all religions are the same, because they all have beliefs that contradict one another. For example, Christianity a core principle within Christianity is that depending on what sect you follow, right, either Jesus is the Son of God, or is God in flesh, or is God Himself, right, in human form. You'll have multiple interpretations of what Jesus is. We say He's a prophet, a normal human being, right? So you'll have all these different opinions, right? But the biggest sin in Islam is not theft or murder. The biggest sin in Islam, according to the Quran, is shirk. Is when you associate partners to God.
Associate
Partners to God. So when you associate something to God's standards. So for example, me saying that for example, something good happens in my life.
Yeah.
Instead of giving credit to God, I start giving credit to a tree or an animal or the spirit or something like this, or wealth, right? I give credit to my own hard work, right, etc., etc., or to my own ability, right, rather than giving thanks to God. That's like shirk now. I'm associating partners to God, right? So saying, let's say Muhammad is God, or saying that Jesus is God, or saying that Moses is God, is probably the biggest sin in Islam. So it's not so the two different beliefs, they can't be the same thing.
No.
So either one's wrong or one's wrong. Either all of them are wrong, or one of them is right. That's the logical deduction you can make from a religion.
The other one is not believing in God.
Right.
Not believing in God.
Yeah, shirk can also be not believing in God, right? So, for example, our core principle is that God sustains us, takes care of us, right? By because we believe that this universe is a dependent existence. It's not independent, because anything that is independent can't be made of parts. And this is ontological reasoning using mathematics. If you have a set of, let's say, even numbers, what can't be in there?
Well, an odd number.
Odd number. And a set of odd numbers can't have an even number.
So you talk about symbiosis. I mean,
no, I'm not talking about symbiosis. I'm talking about why there has to be an independent existence, right? If the universe is a dependent existence, anything dependent is made of parts.
see, the universe isn't. It's all together, isn't it? It's all clockwork. Everything is joined.
What I'm saying is that anything that's dependent is made of parts. It has to be, because, for example, the universe is dependent on different kind of laws of physics. It's dependent on the law of gravity, law of the electron.
What we know of it so far.
It's pretty concrete. That's why it's called the law. Yeah. It's not a theory, right? But
So do you follow science as well? Or?
Yeah. Right. I've got a degree in medical sciences. Yeah. I understand, science, right? And science is basically research to the knowledge that we have, right? It's always ongoing. It's always unchanging, right? It's never stable, right? Core principles, will remain, but even they change depending on research that we find, right? When it comes to, let's say, the universe, it's made of parts, right? Gravity, etc., etc. It has these different components to it. It's not an independent existence. So anything that's dependent is not independent. It can't self-sustain itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So so it's scientific fact that everything that originally comes from star, and obviously for its planets, and then life forms, etc., etc.
Right.
Everything. So
we have to question how that happened as well.
Well, you'd need a pretty big brain to work it out from start to finish.
Quran tells you.
Right, I'm going to have to choose.
You know what? It's lovely speaking to you.
I will read the Quran at some point. It's one of on my bucket list.
Okay, I'll give you a free copy. We're giving out for free. The reason being is because, again, we do this for free. We don't get paid to do this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of misconceptions, and we truly do care about people understanding the correct perspective of Islam. Because the media has done its damage.
See, me, I'm an open-minded person.
I love it. Right? I till this day believe or not, I am open-minded. If I come across argumentation that is more powerful than what I have, I am not afraid of switching my stance.
I just like dialogue.
So,
That's brilliant.
so this one is a bit more detailed about what we were speaking about.
Yeah.
This is about the Quran. And this is about connecting with the Creator. And gift from me to you. Have you ever read like any kind of religious text before?
I read the Bible when I was younger.
Okay. Do you remember reading the Bible?
Vaguely.
Okay.
There's certain bits in it I do recollect quite short bits. A lot of it is, obviously it's big.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
so,
massive.
yeah.
Compared to the Quran, it's way bigger, right?
Yeah.
But the reason why it's bigger and the way it is because, you know, the Bible, it's got like a structure of a biography.
Yeah.
It has like an order, you know, like whenever a chapter finishes, the next chapter will carry on from where that chapter finished. The Quran's a bit different. When you're reading the Quran, it'll be speaking about one particular topic. Middle of the page, it might just completely be talking about something else. And the reason being is from the Islamic perspective, this is not a biography about the Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah.
This Quran is, you know, the authors of it, they put like a short biography just so they introduce the Prophet Muhammad to the people.
Yeah.
But then they'll have like another like page where it starts off the Quran, right? But the Quran itself, it's not a biography about the Prophet Muhammad. It's got it won't have a structure of a biography. It'll quickly randomly just switch topic throughout the whole book, right? The reason being is from the Islamic perspective, the Quran was revealed over bits and pieces over a period of 23 years, depending on different kind of matters. So, for example, if somebody asked the Prophet Muhammad about Moses, or about heaven, or about marriage, or about like dynamics within the home, verses would have been revealed for that particular question or that particular problem. So, if it's an issue of divorce or issue of inheritance, whatever it is, the Quran would have been revealed for those particular things on different times throughout them 23 years.
Yeah.
So, whatever the problem was, the verse was, or anything good, or like could have been something to like encourage a particular action. The verses would have been revealed. So sometimes 5 verses, sometimes 50. So it'll be very like it'll change.
Yeah.
And when it does do that, just remember it's a new day's revelation. That's it.
Yeah.
And at the back is just a bit more detail. But again, the Quran itself. Yeah.
It's been lovely speaking to you.
Lovely speaking to you as well, right? You have this leaflet, right? This blue one, fifth one, sorry. There's a YouTube channel on the back as well, called Merciful Servant, and that goes into a bit more detail. If you do want to learn more about Islam.
Thank you very much. You have a nice day, sir.
As well. Take care.
Nice day.
Yeah. Yep.
So you've got, no, you keep some of these then. You keep some of these with you.
Okay. Okay, I'll get it off you anyway. Okay.
Yeah, I've taken, you know, like,
The red ones?
yeah.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. I sure don't want more?
No, I'll be okay for the week.
Inshallah.